Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the TBM crew. Today, I'm so happy to be here with Daemon Manx and James Carlson. Hello, how are you?
All right. Thank you for having us.
I'm so happy to have you here. Can you tell me in a couple lines what's your work about?
Daemon, want to go first?
Sure. My piece that we're talking about today is a story called Deacon, which is half of the story that James and I came up with together called Hacked in Two. My story is it's your classic zombie apocalypse story with a man trying to save the day. And at that point, another story actually starts to unfold. It's the story of the person writing the book. So it gets a little deep and it gets a little weird. And I'm going to leave it at that for now.
No. Okay. Okay, James?
Yeah, as far as mine, well, first, I'm a horror author from Pennsylvania. And my book with Daemon is, well, while his is deep, mine is just weird, I would say. It combines folk horror with a little bit of satire and a creature feature. So it's got all those things working for it. And the people who've read it so far always tell me that they did not expect the ending that they got from it, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
Cases. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I'd agree. You don't see it coming.
Yes. Which influences would you think you have in your work?
Oh, wow. Mine are all over the place. Probably they start with, Beat Generation and Lost Generation authors like Kerouac and Fitzgerald and all them.
Yes.
And then it moves up to King and Barker and Neil Gaiman. It's all over the place. And a lot of Bizarro authors working now, like Danger Slater, Brian Assman, all those guys. They're great.
Yes.
Yeah, I would also say mine are just as widespan. It goes back to a lot of the expatriates living in Paris in the 20s and 30s. Certainly, I love The Great Gatsby. I loved Hemingway. These are the things that I was taught in school. And then when I got to the point where I had to, decide what I wanted to read, I was reading King and Richard Matheson, and I was really influenced by the media that I was watching. Watching The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, and those short little half-hour shows that left you with that feeling. That's what really inspired me. I love the Rod Serling, where he would narrate the beginning and the end of The Twilight Zone, and that, I think that's some of the biggest influences I've had in my writing.
Yes. And can you relate to any of your characters? Yes.
James?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Tell me about it.
Well, I write using observation and experience. So I incorporate a lot of personal things, but I never make it blatantly obvious, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But yeah, it's all very personal, and but I just take it and twist it into something weird and horrific, usually.
Okay.
I guess I, on the other hand, make it blatantly obvious at times. Deacon in Hacked in Two is the story of a zombie apocalypse, and then it's the story of Daemon Manx writing the story. So while we're hearing what's going on in the story, we're also seeing Daemon sitting there with his beta readers, telling them why he wrote the story, telling him why he chose to go down a different path with a different style of fiction that really isn't him. And then we see the inner struggle that the author has when he tries to break away from a story that he really has no business writing.
Okay, and what's the most difficult scene you have written? For your mind, I mean, the hardest scene to write.
Honestly, that whole book was a struggle for me, because I talk about a lot of the nightmares and the demons that I've faced in my real life. So I faced it. I was an addict for many years, and I spent some time in prison for a little while. So I talk about all these things in the book, where I allowed the reality to cross over with the fiction. So bringing up all this was very difficult. And then I spoke about my divorce, which was really, really hard. But I did it. It melds into fiction. So, what's real, what isn't, a lot of it is, a lot of it isn't. So, I kind of leave it up to you to decide.
Yes, like when someone annoys you in real life, like, you're gonna die in my next book. I'll take that.
I actually haven't done that, to be honest.
Oh, really?
No. I hear people talking about that frequently, but I've yet to do it. I keep my characters. I may base bits and pieces of them on people, but never that thoroughly. That it's kind of like a, cathartic revenge scenario. I don't have that going on.
Yeah. So they cannot recognize themselves.
I mean, some people probably would with, expressions, mannerisms, things like that. But I don't know. I don't try to make it blatantly obvious. It's all just kind of thrown together. But where Daemon's is very personal. My story is my story in Hackton 2 is personal as well, but it's based on an experience that I had with my wife. We went to a wine tasting up north in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Kind of in hillbilly country. And it was kind of a culture shock for us. People carrying guns, wearing camouflage, dead animals in their car, in their truck beds, things like that.
Okay.
It was very very strange. So I decided to incorporate that into the story, kind of a perception of an outsider in a little town like that. And hopefully I succeeded, but yeah, it's based, a lot on experience, that story.
And what's the kind of scenarios or horror in general that scares you the most?
For me, I'd say probably religious horror, because religion freaks me out like a lot.
In which sense?
In the sense that that doctrine can be interpreted in a way that can make you justify terrible things.
Okay, like a cult.
A cult, or even the early conversions of Christianity, things like that. Doing terrible things in the name of something that's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
That scares me. Stuff like that.
Yes, like people like the psychopaths that can go crazy just because they have an idea of something that is right.
Right, precisely. It's all up to interpretation, and it can it's kind of wild, really.
Yes, well, actually, all the psychopaths kind of stories that we hear, they always have a reason. They always have a reason why they do things. So that's kind of that insanity, right? Kind of horror. And you, Daemon?
I would say it's a cross between psychological horror, the horrors that we deal with that we don't speak of, the things that really are eating at us, as we, try to navigate this world. We all have fears. We all have phobias. We all have things that, we don't speak of when the lights are out, those things. And then illness, disease. That's kind of, biological horror. That seems to be something that's prevalent today, something that's always been, I guess, since the first time I read Stephen King's The Stand.
Yeah.
I've been afraid of that super flu getting us,
Super flu.
Captain Trips.
Captain Trips,
Okay.
Man.
So you both agree on earthly horrors.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So have you written something about paranormal horror?
I have.
Because you don't seem to be scared of it.
It freaks me out in a fictional sense, but I have very little experience with those things. I have more experience with with humanity as it is, the dark underbelly of it. I see what we're capable of, and I also see what great things we're capable of. So we're a mixed bag. Human beings are very complicated, capable of amazing and awful things. So that's scary to me.
Yes. And you, Daemon?
Yeah. I do have a story called Piece by Piece, which involves a message that's delivered to a young boy through a Ouija board. And he's told the year that he's going to die. And he finds out that, yes, he is actually going to die in 2022. And the book is a race for him to figure out, the pieces of this puzzle of his life that's foretold to him through this supernatural entity. That, which is funny because when I was 10 years old, the girls across the street had a Ouija board and told me I was going to die when I was 40. And that kind of terrified me for a very long time. Needless to say, that did not come true. So we're very happy about that. Yeah. But supernatural, that's definitely something I do write about. And I actually have a big story that I'm working on that really is surrounded about supernatural horror.
And are you influenced by any movie you have watched, maybe in your childhood or the 80s horror?
Absolutely. I have been.
Yes.
Well, I grew up I grew up in the 90s. So it was kind of the golden age of, the 80s and 90s were the golden age of horror. So I would, sneak downstairs after my parents went to bed and watch, USA Up All Night and HBO and catch things like Toxic Avenger, that B movie trash cinema, but it spoke to me. So that the weirdness and the humor mixed with horror is what really, I wanted to capture that in my writing. I think sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, because I think I have a pretty, broad palette of, what I work from.
Yeah.
And some works, some doesn't, but I'm going to keep doing it until it catches on.
The first movie that actually did it for me, and I was much too young to watch it at the time, forced my father to stay up past 11, and we sat on the couch and we watched the original Night of the Living Dead in black and white. And I was scared out of my pants. I followed him into the bathroom, like I couldn't sleep in my room. And then, for years, like whatever house I walked into, I would look at the windows to see if they could be boarded up quickly if the zombie apocalypse broke up. And from there it was, of course, Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead, and all those were very, very impactful on me. And even The Walking Dead up to a certain point was pretty invigorating for a little while.
Up to a certain point.
Up to a certain point.
I can imagine when I was 13, my English teacher at the high school, he played the Ring when we were just 13 years old, and I didn't sleep for years. So still, if someone asks me what's the most scary film you have watched, is the Ring, because I still have that, that feeling that it was horrifying. I couldn't watch any TV because I saw that thing crawling out of it all the time.
Very creepy. Yeah.
Very creepy. Yes. And horses. I can't stand horses also.
Really? Huh.
But where do you see yourself in 5 years from now in the writing world?
Well, I guess there's where I want to be and where I'll probably actually be.
Okay.
Two very different things. Actually, I'd be happy just to increase my readership. I have no aspirations on being, the next Stephen King or anything.
Yeah.
That actually seems overwhelming to me. I just want people to read my work and appreciate it, and I consider that a success, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I would be happy if people read my books, and I would be happy if people were happy after they read them and told me that. If people told me that I read your story and it affected me on an emotional level, like it made me cry, or it made me smile, that is so rewarding. I would love to be able to support myself by doing it. If that happens, that's great. But I think if I can bring out an emotional response in the reader, that would be, the greatest gift I could receive back from doing what I love to do.
Sure.
Okay, and if you could look back in your expertise, your writing career, what would be like to give advice to new writers, a mistake that you would avoid, or something? If you had someone in front of you who started writing, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, when they start to submit their work, I would say to research the publisher thoroughly, and to contact writers who also work with that publisher to pretty much gauge their integrity. Because there are a lot of predatory presses out there who will take your work, won't edit it, they will slap it up, and then when it comes time to get royalties, they'll make you beg for it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's important to get with the right people at the right times. We all learn this lesson along the way, and it's very discouraging. It makes you want to give up at first.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. Research the publisher, talk to their other authors, and make sure it's a good fit for you.
Okay.
That was, I can't even say that better myself. Like everything he said, yes, totally do that. Totally do that. I'm going to leave that at that. Also, I would say, don't procrastinate. If this is your dream and this is what you want to do, chase it like you would anything else. Chase it like you would something you love, because, you're the only person who can put you where you want to be. I would say, if you want to be a writer, continue to write and do your research and put it out there, because it's attainable. There are levels of this medium that certainly can be attained by anyone. And it's well within reach if you aspire and you pursue. And I would say pursue. Don't let the grass grow underneath you. Just keep moving and stay prolific.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And what inspires you the most to keep moving?
I'd say every positive review kind of fuels my next endeavor. It kind of, we as writers are always full of self-doubt.
Yeah.
We go over our work again and again, and we look for its flaws, not for its merits. As a creative, that's that can be very difficult. So I don't know. I just try to write the best story I can, as far as imagination, grammar, delivery, the whole 9 yards. That's really all I can do, and I hope that people respond to that. So far they have, which has been very encouraging, and nowhere to go but up from here, really. At least I hope.
Yes.
No, totally. Yeah, you're 100% right with that. And yeah, I agree also. And once again, for me, I mean, the most inspiration I get is when somebody actually reads the story and then tells me how it affected them. Or, you know, maybe even if it's just one line, you know, when you wrote about that guy at the end of that story and he ran into the fire, man, my heart broke, you know, like to hear people say that,
Yes.
that's the inspiration that keeps me like, oh, wow. Yeah, maybe I'm doing something right. Because like James said, you know, as a writer, like as soon as I finish the story and it gets published, I look through it and I hate it. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I publish this thing? Like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. And my ego is, you know, is about to jump off the cliff. And so, yeah, it's a roller coaster. So, you know, when we say, you know, thanks to the reader, we're nothing without the reader. It's true, like on the deepest level, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
The reader and also the horror community, because the most supportive bunch of people in the world. I love the horror community. I can't say enough good things about them, honestly. They're great.
Yes. It's all the embracing you get from the horror community. It's just amazing. And the funniest thing is that everyone is always game for everything. I mean, it's so amazing to do anything in this community. I have always found all the support and everything. It's just amazing. And I wonder what you say about your characters, and do you have any side or secondary character? Would you like to make a spin-off or a side story about them? Like, you know, like you have a central characters, but this one, maybe I could do something with them later. Do you have any?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My side characters tend to be more popular than my main characters. I hear it all the time. So yeah, I'd absolutely love to do that. And
yes,
yeah, my book, well, my story from Hackton 2, I'd like to continue that with the side character as the lead.
Yes.
My story, Midnight in the City of the Carrion Kid, has a companion novella that I plan to do soon, which will have a side character as one of the leads. Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Yes. Okay, and you, Daemon?
Well, that's interesting because I don't really think of my characters as side or like they all take up so much room in my head that they're all these main characters that all have like their own stories. Like I know their backstory.
Yeah.
But there are a couple people in my debut, Abigail, who are certainly worthy of stories of their own, and one day will be in their own continuation of Abigail, and having a much bigger part. Yeah.
Yes, the time will come.
Yeah. Something I'm thinking about.
Which is the book the readers should check out if they start reading you? Where's the starting point?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, I'd say a good starting point for me would probably be my collection of short stories, 7 Exhumations, because that remains one of my more popular books. It's not my best written book, but it's got a lot of variety, and people really responded well to it when it came out, and they still do today. After that, I'd probably say Hackton 2, because I'm just really excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So those 2 books for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback with that. I would say if somebody's going to pick up a book by me, that the first one they should be reading is Abigail. It was my debut novella. It got a lot of interest, and I was really pleased with what my first little story did, and it's very special to me, and it's got a very it's got a deeper meaning, because while it looks like a horror book on the outside, it touches on acceptance and tolerance and unconditional love, and it has a deeper message. So I think that I would want people to start with that, and then go to Hackton 2 to find out what a nutcase I am.
Valid. Yeah.
Okay, and where can readers find you?
Social media is the best place. It has all the information you need. It's also got links to my press's website, Gloomhouse Publishing. I know Daemon's has the same thing for Last Waltz Publishing. You just go online on social media, look for James G. Carlson or Daemon Manx. You're going to find all the information you need, especially Facebook. That's the horror community is pretty active there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will link everything below so everyone can reach you out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I love talking to you, but time just flew away.
It really did. Yeah.
That was so fast.
Yeah. Okay, just thank you so much for your time and for being with us. And we will link everything below for everyone to reach out to you and check out your work. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It was wonderful.
Okay, have a lovely night.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.